Alright guys, today is equipment vlog day number 3. Getting closer, slowly starting to figure things out, which is, I think at some point, as I always like to say, that's all you can ask for. So, we'll talk about what we got on the agenda today, and then we'll kind of talk about some general thoughts and, the direction that we are headed. So, first and foremost, things on the agenda today. AeroBurner mini driver that I just picked up. If you saw in the last video, we were at the golf store and we found an AeroBurner mini driver, 12 degrees aloft. I was striping it at the golf store. Real shocker there. Don't we all stripe it at the golf store? We make all the putts at the golf store, we stripe it at the golf store, and then we get out on the golf course, and that stuff is nowhere to be found. But anyway, besides the point, found it for 65 bucks. I was searching them up on eBay because the one I found was in such bad condition, and they were 170, 180 bucks on eBay in the same rough condition. So I figured worst case scenario, I could always resell it on eBay if I really need to. But I'll tell you what, the brother who had this AeroBurner mini driver, there's a decent chance that he found the top of the crown more than he found the center of the face. The condition is like unbelievably destroyed. Like, just you look at it, you're like, how does this even happen? Thing looks like it's, it got Oppenheimered or something. But anyway, so that's on the agenda. And now, what I like about the AeroBurner mini driver over the new mini drivers, let's talk about it a little bit. So, you heard me talk in the last video about the fact that I'm just not really quite sure that modern drivers are meant to turn over on a consistent basis. And I think the main thing it really comes down to is angle of attack. So, when you have a CG that is higher up on the face, you need to catch the golf ball higher on the face, and in order to do so, you need to tee the golf ball higher. Well, the higher you tee the golf ball, the more up, normally you're going to hit on it, and the more up normally that you hit on it, the more left your path is going to go. So, when you start to think about these things, modern drivers are just tough to turn over. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but they are tough to do consistently. So the thing about the Burner mini driver, the new one, 2023 model, is it is a smaller head than a normal driver, but still, I think it is relatively deep. You still have to tee it up a decent ways, to hit it in the right spot of the face where you're getting, maximum efficiency, good launch and spin, really finding the proper center of the face, if you will. Now, with the AeroBurner mini driver that I just picked up, the head is a little bit smaller. And what I like about that, again, it really comes down to center of gravity. The lower the center of gravity is because it's not as deep, and it's not as far back either. So the head is smaller front to back, or shorter front to back, and not as deep from top to bottom. So when it's shorter front to back, you have a CG that's going to be a little bit closer to the face. So gear effect isn't going to play as big of a role, which to me is a good thing. When we're talking about drawing a driver, I don't really want gear effect to play a huge role, personally. Because I find that sometimes with gear effect, it just makes it really want to snipe on you occasionally if you get it off the toe. So that's what I like about it in terms of front to back CG. Now, when we're thinking about vertical CG, top bottom, what I like about the fact that it's smaller is the fact that I don't have to hit as far up on it. I can make more of a sweeping motion, and quite frankly, I could probably hit more down on it. In an ideal world, I'm probably hitting 1 to 2 down on this mini driver, which is pushing my path further right, and in turn, it's making me able to consistently turn it over. So That's what I like about this head. Now, that said, I've tested the 300 Mini by TaylorMade. I thought the head was a little bit too big. Now, I haven't tested the new Burner Mini in depth, and that one has been very popular. A lot of people have seemed to like it. At the current moment, I don't really want to drop, $500 on a mini driver. But, Mike over at TaylorMade, if a Burner Mini 11.5 degree with a Tour AD DI 7X happen to show up at my house, what can a brother do? There's nothing I can do. It just showed up. But anyway, I'm liking the idea of this AeroBurner mini driver. I would love to put it head-to-head against the actual Burner Mini, but I really do think that, in terms of off the tee, you really are trying to build, you could do a lot of different things, right? But for me personally, in my bag, I'm thinking a driver that goes a pretty long way, probably somewhere between 8 and 9 degrees, consistent push cut. Then I'm thinking of having a mini driver that I put into play on golf courses that are mainly under 7,000 yards or tight. So, you might be playing a 7,200 yard golf course that's just tight, and that you are just like, I want to make sure I'm getting the ball in play, so I'm going to put this in. So that's kind of the idea behind the two driver options. And then once you get over 7,000, then you would put the normal one in, or maybe if it's a little bit wider, then you can put the normal one in. Then you have a 3-wood or a 4-wood that, you feel very comfortable with, you can consistently turn over. And, for the higher speed players, or for somebody who strictly wants to have an iron off the tee, maybe you could even do that. Maybe you could even build up a 1-iron that you only hit off the tee. But that's kind of my idea at the current moment. I think driver, I hope we can get this mini driver to work. I guess we'll find out. And then, I'll have my 3 or 4 wood that's also turnoverable. So that's what we got in terms of the mini driver. Now, something I do want to share. So first and foremost, we're putting a Graphite Design Tour AD UB 7X tip to 1/2 inch in the mini driver. Now, lengthwise, it's a little bit short. It was pulled from a 3-wood, so it is, it's short, unfortunately. There's nothing I can do about that. So it's not quite the right length, but I still think we can get a pretty decent idea in terms of, what I think about the shaft, what I think about the head, so we can kind of gather some ideas and go from there. When I was building it, and I'll put a little video up, but when I was building it, the shaft was loose inside the head when I went to install it, and so I figured I would go ahead and share with you guys a little bit of a club building tip, and I'll throw that video up right now. So we're here in the garage getting this mini driver built up, and I thought maybe it was a good idea to maybe go ahead and share a little bit of a club building tip with you guys, if you will. So when I first put this UB into the mini driver, it was very loose inside the head. It was very quick to move around. It really wasn't centered, if you will, inside the head. So normally what you would do if the diameter of the shaft is a little bit too small is you would go ahead and throw a shim on there. But, sometimes a shim adds a little bit too much thickness to the shaft. So what I like to do is actually use a little bit of drywall tape, go ahead and wrap it around the tip end here. It's a little bit too small. And then when I go put the head on, it's a lot tighter. There's not a lot of movement inside here. There's still a little bit of movement. So maybe I'll have to go and add a little bit more drywall tape. But yeah, just a quick little solution to an issue that sometimes you run into, and I figured I would just go ahead and share it. But nonetheless, we were able to get it built, and just swinging it in the garage feels good. Feels a little short, feels a little light, but it feels a little light, I think, due to the length and the fact that it's like an inch short of where I would want to play it. So not overly worried about it. We'll get a decent idea, and that's the mini driver experiment. I'm freaking excited about it. I'm not gonna lie. Heading out to the golf course, and I'm just like, man, this thing could be my messiah in the golf bag space. So that would be pretty cool. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, I do this all the time where I'm like, oh my god, this thing's gonna be, you know, the best thing ever.
This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew.
And then you shoot 80 fucking 2 the next round. So, I mean, it's just how it goes. All that being said, let's talk about the next thing we have on the agenda today. We have Nippon Super Peening Orange Iron Shafts. You might be wondering, what the hell is a Nippon Super Peening Orange Iron Shaft? Something that was extremely popular probably close to a decade ago. Actually, a shaft that the GOAT, Paul Casey, used to play. The underrated equipment GOAT, Paul Casey, used to play the Super Peening Orange. It is a JDM spec iron shaft. And the reason you can tell it's JDM spec, I actually have them here in my car. When you look at the lengths on the shafts, the standard 7-iron uncut length is 38.5 inches. But on the Super Peening Orange, it's actually 36.5 inches. So, JDM spec, very popular in the Asian market. And if I'm not mistaken, the Modus 125 is actually based off of the Super Peening Orange and Blue models. So, very popular, and really what it is just a different variation of a mid-soft stiff tip profile. That's really what it is. Very in line with, say, your graphite design wood shafts. I know I talked in the last video about how the Modus 125 is, relatively in line with the graphite design series, and it is. But I would say that the Peening Orange is even more so in line when you look at it on EI. So we've got those to test in a 4-iron and a 7-iron. Now, I know I talked in the last video about, being all, on top of making sure I test it in a 4-iron and a pitching wedge. I think you can kind of get a gauge with the 4-iron, and then, a 7-iron again is more of a full club, and then I think you go pitching wedge. So I really think in an ideal world, you test 4-7 pitching wedge, and then you go from there. But I think as a whole, it could be a good shaft. It could not be. That's just how it goes. We gotta hit it. We gotta see. I'm excited for it, but at the same time, I'm kind of, it's tough because no OEMs carry Super Peening Orange. They're not like overly easy to get. Usually you gotta buy them in full set. So if it's a shaft that does work, it's not the most fun thing to deal with in terms of, rebuilding sets in the future. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I think as far as the iron shafts go, I think we've narrowed it down to a few things. So, we've got Nippon Super Peening Orange, Modus 125X, Modus 125X Soft Stepped, Modus 125S, Dynamic Gold X100 130 gram, Dynamic Gold X100 120 gram. I think that is what we've narrowed it down to. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, that ain't narrow whatsoever. And you're right. Quite frankly, it's not that narrow. I believe that was 6 shafts I listed, if I could count. So it ain't super narrow. But with that being said, it's closer than we were 2 weeks ago. So, like I always say, at some point, that's all you can ask for. Are you closer than you were yesterday? Are you closer than you were the day before? And the answer is yes. We might not be down to 1 shaft, but we're on the up and up. We're moving in the right direction. So that's what we've got. In the last video again, I talked about the fact that, you know, I'm more of a fan of lighter iron shafts. Well, I would say I've sort of changed my opinion on that a little bit. I think it depends what you're feeling. Let's just go to the KBS, for example, because I haven't played the Modus for probably since my What's in the Bag video came out like a year ago. We'll talk specifically KBS. I think because of the stiff middle, going a little bit lighter and a little bit softer gave me a hair more feel and a hair more feedback, and that's why I enjoyed the 120 gram KBS. But I think moving into a dynamic gold, because the middle is softer, because you're getting a little bit more of that feel from the midsection, I actually don't mind going heavier. The thing about weight classes with irons, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, you need to find the right weight class. And then once you find the right weight class, then you can kind of start to search around for different iron shafts. That's sort of a sham statement, right? Because if you think about a Modus 130, for example, the balance point is so much higher than a dynamic gold that inherently it's going to feel vastly different. You know, a dynamic gold will feel head heavy at 130 grams, whereas, you know, a Modus 130 is going to feel extremely head light at 130 grams. Same shaft, weight-wise, but because the balance point is so vastly different, you're not getting an even remotely similar feel in terms of weight. They disperse 130 grams completely differently. So, you know, when you hear people talk about, oh, you need to find the right, you know, weight class, you need to make sure that, you know, the weight class is in the right spot. If it's the same profile or it's a remotely similar profile, yes, I 100% agree. You know, you should find the right weight class that you like and then go from there. But so many other things play a role. Torque, the actual EI graph, you know, the length you're going to play it at, the head weight you're going to play it at. I mean, there's a million different things. So you can't just go off of weight class, but you also just can't go off of weight class when the EI profiles are not even remotely similar and the balance points are not even remotely similar. So, you know, next time you're trying iron shafts, it's something to think about. You know, to me, a Modus 130 feels way lighter at 130 grams than an X100 does. An X100 feels, you know, let's say that feels like 130. To me, the Modus feels like 110, 115. I mean, and it's really just due to the fact that the balance point's higher and you don't feel as much head weight. So, you know, that's something that you kind of have to think about when you're, you know, looking at iron shafts. But nonetheless, I think we're in a good spot. I think, you know, we're just trying to kind of slowly get this stuff figured out. But on the agenda today, really long story short, on the agenda today, AeroBurner mini driver, 12 degrees, Tour AD UB 7X. Tipped a 1/2 inch. I believe it's 42 1/4 inches. Then Nippon Super Peening Orange iron shafts. They are going to be a 1/2 inch under. And yeah, we'll get out to the golf course. We'll test these mofos. And that's all I got. Let's go. All right, so we made it out here to the range. And I think the way we're going to start this is 7 iron Super Peening Orange, 4 iron Super Peening Orange, and then we'll move up into the mini driver. So, as you can see, I've taken some divots. I'm decently warm. And, yeah, just get into it. Wow. I might have hit like a skosh behind that, but it feels stiff. But like not boardy. I gotta move this mic because it is annoying the living crap out of me, quite frankly. how to describe this feeling. It's like stiff, but really smooth. I don't even know how to describe what I'm feeling right now. I'm kind of like at a loss for words. I can't even lie. Chunk the living hell out of that. I don't even know what to say right now. Like, I don't know what you could possibly compare this to in terms of feel. It's like the stability of a Modus 125 without the harshness is the way I would describe this super Peening orange. Like, that's the best way I could describe it. I don't know if I love it or not, to be honest. It doesn't, like, there's something about it that it, like, feels great, but at the same time, it's like, it's so smooth, like, that there's almost, like, no feel. That was striped. But it's just, like, uber smooth. But at the same time, very stable. That's how I would describe it. Is uber smooth, but very stable. Like, it seems to stay with you pretty well. I don't know. Let's move to the 4-iron, because I don't, you know, sometimes with these things, you're just kind of at a loss. I don't know enough about this shaft, you know, to really be able to give you, like, more of an in-depth analysis. It doesn't seem good or bad. I'm just, like, very sort of indifferent about it currently. But we'll move to the 4-iron. I don't know if I love it, guys. I gotta be honest. Like, it's not like I don't like it. I just don't. There's just something about it that is just not giving me the right vibes. You know? You ever walk into a gas station late at night? You start walking around and you're like, something's off here. Something ain't right. I can't put my finger on it, but something's not right. That's kind of how I feel about these. Like, I want to like them, but something just doesn't seem quite right. That's what I would say. I mean, that's a nice shot. It's like the feel is not what I'm wanting, if that makes sense. Like, it just doesn't feel like what I think I'm wanting for my irons. like, it's not bad, but it's just like I said, it's just like something's just not quite there, and I can't put my finger on what. But like maybe that's why the Modus 125 is based off of the orange and blue models, because maybe there's something there. You know, they've taken the good characteristics of the orange and blue models and then turned it into the 125. So, you know, maybe that's something to think about. Just stiff but smooth. I don't know how else to say it. I know I've probably said that like 5 times, but it's almost too smooth. Almost like you don't feel the stiffness enough, if that resonates at all. But, you know, we'll hit a couple more. Like, the flight seems good. Oh, I mean, in terms of contact, pretty centered. We'll go low cut. That felt amazing, I can't even lie. We'll go low draw. Little questionable to call that a draw, but it's more like an umbrella hook, if you will. High cut. I don't really want to break my frickin' hand on this thing. Get that out of the way. High cut. Like, I can't sit here and say I don't like them, but I just can't sit here and say that I'm like, you know, oh yeah, these are incredible. Sometimes with the equipment stuff, you're just at a loss. You're not quite sure what to say, and that's how I feel right now. I know I keep reiterating that, but that's just genuinely how I feel. And it stinks, because I wish I could give you more insight. High draw. That was not high. That was at best medium. But it definitely drew. I'll go up. Try to go upstairs. That was higher. I mean, it seems like I can kind of do what I want, but let's try to move the 7-iron around a little bit. We'll go high cut. Like, you hit a shot like that and you're just like, damn, this thing's really nice. But then, I don't know. Stock shot. Should be just, you know, tight draw. Bottomed out early, but flagged it. Bottomed out way early. Low cut. Back of the stance, finish at our hip. There's something about these I love, and there's just something about them where I'm just like, something's not right. It's the weirdest feeling. It really is the weirdest feeling. High draw. Alright, well, That's on me. No shaft's gonna fix, you know, hitting 6 inches behind the ball like a real idiot. There it is. Nice high draw. I mean, in terms of centerness of contact, it is pretty center, which is nice, of course. We'll go more low draw here, and then I think we'll just have to move into the mini driver, because I just don't really have... yeah, beautiful. I just don't really know what to say. I'm kind of at a loss with these. I really am. I think for me, I really just need to... I need to test the Modus 125S, Modus 125X soft stepped, and then maybe kind of see if there's some correlation between any of those and what I'm feeling with these. Because I want to like them. You know, certain shots are just... the performance is incredible, but there's just some that's it's just not quite right. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't know what else to say. All right. Now, you know, this is the show you guys came for. The mini driver. This thing I'm excited for. Let me find a tee here. Oh, here's a couple. So, you know, what I was talking about earlier with the whole teeing it up sort of ordeal. You know, a lot of people think when it gets deeper, you can hit more down on it. And yes, that's usually true with fairway woods. That being said, if I want to tee the ball that low, and I got a driver face, you know, that's this deep, you know, no matter how far I hit down on it, it's very unlikely I'm going to catch it in the center. So that's why, you know, I like to go a little shallower with the mini drivers as opposed to, like, you know, the 300 mini or the burner mini. But looking down at this, the size is so beautiful. Here we go. Oh my goodness. We might have a winner. That flight. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, there's a slightly heeled kind of drop right shot. But because that CG's further forward, we can heel it a little bit, and it really, I would say, it more so goes straight than, like, you know, kind of wants to shoot off to the right, if that makes sense. A couple more. Oh, man, one. Don't be that guy. If people do that, don't be the guy who says one. Holy shit. That's the flight I was seeing at the golf store. It was literally 15-yard draw every time, and the misses were exactly like that second shot, where it just kind of started a little bit to the right, and maybe just drifted a skosh right, but it really just went pretty straight. You know, my fairway here is kind of, I don't know if you can see it, we kind of got a blue stick and a yellow stick. I mean, I'm not really lining myself up, but, you know, that's kind of my fairway. And actually, it's a pretty tight fairway to try to hit it in. That's going to find the right edge of the fairway. Probably right rough. But I think we might have a winner here, guys. I can't even lie. You know, and you're probably thinking, like, you only hit 4 shots. But just that feel of those 2 shots that were piered, you're just like, there's something there. You know, I was talking about the gas station. You walk in late at night and something doesn't feel right. Sometimes you walk into that gas station and something does feel right. You know, sometimes you walk into, you know, anywhere, the club, and something's just right. Like, it's just on tonight. And those couple of pure shots, I got that feeling. You know, I got that cha-cha in me. I mean, come on, dude. And that is flying. That is flying. I mean, that is going, you know, I don't want to be the guy that oversells my yardages, but to me that looks like it's flying about 270. 265. No wind, 70, I don't know, 74 degrees today maybe. Something like that. The shaft feels right. 7x tipped a ½ inch. I do think the length's a little bit short. But you can see, you know, I'm just probably setting up a little bit closed, and I'm really just swinging a little in and out. That's the feel. You know, and I don't think that's a divot from the driver, but I think I'm probably hitting level. You know, I don't know if I'm hitting down on this. I guess we could try to hit down on one. Put a little bit further back. You know, that's me more hitting down on one. Obviously started further right because my path is being pushed further right. But that was like a tight draw in terms of flight. You know, so I guess there's a little bit of a tip maybe. You know, if you ever put the ball back in your stance, it's going to start further right because your path is being pushed further right. So you might need to aim a little bit further left. You know, but there's a lot of other things that play a role, of course, but just a thought. But, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go buy a ring. I'm not gonna lie. This thing is really good. Really good. I just got that feeling. I just got that feeling. So what I'd really like to do is get a burner mini and put them head to head, so I could give more of like a, you know, it's sort of an honest, you know, comparison. But for how old this is, for $65, I mean, give me a break. This thing is stupid good. I mean, come on, bro. That's it. We're done. Calling it. What else? I mean, what else could you want to see? 10-yard draw. Every single time. Love it. All right, guys. Wow. That was a fun testing session. So I'm going to try to not make this too long. But I think we are in a good position. So let's start with the super peening oranges. So, you know, on camera, I was at a little bit of a loss for words. I wasn't really sure how to describe what I was feeling. But that said, the more time I spent off camera with the shaft, the more I think I started to understand it. So there's a little bit of a pronounced kick at the bottom, and then it stiffens up into the tip section. Now, I think it felt really smooth because of the balance between that soft little kick right before the tip section and the stiffer butt area. What I started to notice, the more I hit it, is I started to bottom out a little early, and I started to kind of overdraw it. And I think the bottoming out early comes from the fact that it's a little softer just before the tip. And I think that overdraw is kind of due to two things. You know, as you bottom out more early, your path, you know, tends to go more right. So, that said, as you move your path more right, it's going to want to overdraw. Additionally, when you kind of start to look at how it stiffens up in the tip section, it wants to keep that face closed. It doesn't want to let that face stay out to the right. So I think that was kind of helping close the face. The more I started to hit it, the more, to me, it started to feel like a Modus 120, where you kind of get that pronounced kick and then it really stiffens up in the tip section. Now, I wouldn't say quite the same as a Modus 120, but sort of a similar feel. And so for me personally, you know, the thing was, I hit a lot of shots in the center. It felt very nice. But to me, it was just a little inconsistent. I think that there's a little bit too much of a kick, and it kind of softens up too hard. And so for me personally, I don't think it's the shaft. I don't think it's the right one. I think we're probably going to eliminate that from the list. As I got into a 4-iron, again, when you get softer, you know, softer can tend to actually spin the golf ball less. Because, you know, the more that it's staying behind you, the higher you're catching it on the face. The higher you catch it on the face, the more above the center of gravity is. The more above the center of gravity is, the less it's going to spin. So when I got into the 4-iron, I noticed it seemed like I was catching balls a little bit higher on the face, and they were kind of coming out and knuckling a little bit, which is, you know, just for me, it's just not something that I wanted to see. So I really wanted to love the shaft, and there were certain characteristics of it that I really did like. I liked the fact that it was smooth, but also stiff, which is kind of exactly what a Modus 120 is. But to me, there's almost too much movement throughout. I wish it was a little bit more linear. I don't love, you know, how much, I mean, when you look at it on an EI graph, there's just a lot of movement. It's not kind of just like it swings, softens, and then kind of stiffens up. You know, it's kind of up here in the butt, it kind of drops off, and then it kind of comes down, swoops, and comes back. Now, like I mentioned, not as drastic as a Modus 120, but almost more in that realm, I would say, than a Modus 125, if that makes sense. So, really solid shaft. Wanted to love it, but I think the more time I spent with it, the more I realized it just wasn't going to quite work. And although it is kind of in line with the graphite design profile, the thing about graphite itself is it just feels inherently stiffer. It doesn't quite deflect nearly similarly to steel. So, although maybe the EI is closer, you know, I guess that could be up for debate, but let's just say it is. Because it's steel versus graphite, they just don't quite feel the same. So, solid shaft, don't think it's going to work. Just not quite what I want to feel. Moving into the mini driver. Guys, I'm telling you, I had a feeling when I left the golf store. I had a feeling when I was building it. And this thing is a freaking monster. Okay. I was right. You know, guys, occasionally I get stuff wrong. I was right about this. I was right. Smaller head size is fantastic. 12 degrees aloft, in my opinion, is like perfect for a mini driver. Not too low, not too high. It feels very hot. Tight draw city. The path's in the right spot. The contact's in the right spot on the face. The attack angle's perfect. It just seemed like everything about it was exactly what I wanted. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling when you get certain things right. So I'm very excited about it. We'll see how it goes. I think that what I need to do with the mini driver is I probably need to rebuild it with a longer shaft. And you might be wondering, if you like it so much, why would you do that? To me, it does feel a hair light. It does feel a hair short. It's not supposed to be a 3-wood, and it kind of is 3-wood length. So, you know, I would like to get a little bit more speed out of it by going a little bit longer. I think that would add a little bit more heft, which is kind of what I want. But as a whole, I mean, I'm happy with my purchase. $65. I think it was worth it. If you guys are curious to kind of see launch monitor numbers, I would love to do a video on that. Just comment it down below and let me know. Also, like I said, Mike over at TaylorMade, dude, I'd love to put a Burner Mini up against the AeroBurner Mini and just see what happens. I might end up loving the Burner Mini even more than I like this AeroBurner Mini, but to me, there's something about that head size being, if I'm not mistaken, 253 cc's as opposed to the 304 cc's that the Burner Mini is, that just makes it a little bit better for me and what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to accomplish. So, I'm smiling. Feels good. I'm cheesing right now. Feels good. What's probably gonna happen? I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I'm gonna go to the range, and I'm gonna hit it like crap. And I'm gonna be like, what the hell? It's always how it goes. But seriously, I'm kind of joking there. I'm really a fan of it, and I think, as I said in the last video, all you can ask for is that you just get a little bit closer each day. Were you closer than you were the day before? And today, I think we made progress. I think we eliminated the super peening oranges. I think we are sort of high on this mini driver idea to hit consistent draws off the tee, and we're closer. That's all you can ask for. So that's a video. Any questions, drop a comment. Any suggestions, drop a comment. Make sure if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.